the only thing consistent with conference expansion and conference realignment is the fact that it always happens. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here. All right, I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, okay? Please like, share, comment, subscribe, post, reshare. I don't know if I already said that, whatever. Do all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate it. We're gonna have to tell you, this is Jake with Master Football, pro football, college football, video game football, anything. Dude, the intro screwed up, okay? Let's just get into the video. We were rough there at the beginning, man. It was a little rough, but we found our way through. So, everybody, right now, what's going on is I am currently filming this video a few days ahead of advance, just because I don't want to film when I'm at my parents' house. You guys remember that one video I had about LSU early on in the season, LSU versus UCLA, the terrible audio. A lot of you watched, and I really appreciate that, but it just wasn't good, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to film a video that's going to be kind of forward-thinking here. We had some yesterday's games. I'm not going to go, obviously, because I'm filming this on Wednesday, but I wanted to talk about a bigger issue, a video that I saw recently, because a lot of the traffic from my channel has come from one particular topic, that is Big 12 expansion, especially Conference USA expansion, and then American expansion, and blah, 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 blah. Conference expansion has been huge because it affects many different aspects of college football, and you can talk about it ad nauseum about the hypotheticals. That being said, I want to show you one video I saw from the Sikkim 365 Sports guys, because they keep on talking about this like it's a thing, and a lot of people don't think it's a thing. Let's get into this.
At the bottom of the hour. I've had a couple of you ask me about the Big 12, and it's been kind of quiet. And there's nothing new here other than a couple of you have said, would you update again a little bit about Chapter 2? I've said this many times, and I'll say it again, that the Big 12 would like to have an announcement by the end of this month on Chapter 2. That has been slowed down initially because the Pac-12, they thought, was going to have a TV contract. I don't think that's going to happen. That doesn't mean the Big 12 is not going to do Chapter 2. I just think they were going to look at the barometer, look at the figures of what their TV was going to be like in the Pac-12. I do know this. It looks as if that the Big 12 teams, remember the, oh my God, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, nobody's going to get more than $10 million a year, it's going to be a massive drop-off. They are negotiating, of course, the TV in some ways with whoever. But there is a chance that with 12 teams, that there's an opportunity that the Big 12 payout to each team will be around. Now, this is not me reporting this, could be in the neighborhood of about in the upper 40 millions. Now, there's also a Big 12 conference fee of about 4 million or so, about 10% of that, so that would come off. Now, there's a chance the Tier 3 rights, which right now each team gets about 4 million, Oklahoma and Texas have their own thing, and everybody else gets about 4 million. There's a chance that could double with 12 teams. And the drop-off from 12 to 16 is not that significant. Even when you had 4 more teams into the mix, it's not going to be. It might cost each program, the 12, not including Texas and Oklahoma, maybe 4 or 5 million a year if you go to Chapter 2.
That's from the Sikkim 365 Sports guys. They basically state that right now it looks like they're going to get about, $40 million minus 4 from the 10% fee, minus 4 to 5 from potentially going to 16. So if they go to 16 teams, the payout would go from roughly about $36 million to roughly about $31 million. And a lot of people are like, dude, what the hell is this? Okay, why are we doing this? You check out the comment section on this thing, they rail going beyond 12. I understand these are YouTube comics, but right here, look at, we see our highly educated PGC expanding now would be reckless. First absorb and then acclimate the 4 new teams and then reevaluate the football landscape and ascertain if future expansion is needed. Does it really matter? Add teams to fortify your conference. I understand that perspective. Considering they aren't strong football candidates available, the next big chapter in Big 12 expansion should focus on long-term by taking a page from the Big 10, specifically research dollars integration. The pending Big 12 is fine. We see down here, there's no reason to add more right now. So all the commenters are saying, what the hell? Why would we go to 16? Everything is frozen right now. Why would we be proactive in adding 2 more teams or 4 more teams? Why would we do this? I actually wanted to break that down. And again, partially this is because I'm a hopeful Boise State fan, but I'm also seeing the fact that other conferences are doing this too. What's going on right now is that the smaller conferences are at the mercy of the bigger conferences. Everybody knows this, okay? SEC takes from Big 12, Big 12 takes from American, American takes from Conference USA takes from the FBS, and blah, 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 blah. It just keeps on going on from there. There are some tertiary ones from there, but that's the general idea of what we have. But as you can see that what's happening right now is some of those smaller conferences are adding an obscene amount of teams right now. And it's like, what the hell? Why would they do that? I've narrowed it down. There are 3 reasons why I feel like many different conferences are going towards 16-team conferences. I have those reasons right now. Those reasons are, and again, I think some of these reasons are different for the other schools, but I have 3 big reasons. And again, the first one is going to be kind of relevant for the smaller conferences. The first one is insulation. The second one is going to be travel partners to make sure you can have people you can go with. And the third one is going to be content. Now, let's talk about insulation. I want to bring up the American Athletic Conference, and they're going to highlight what I think was going on with insulation. Everybody remembers this right here. The American Athletic Conference is rebuilding with 6 Conference USA schools. So, the American Athletic Conference right now has 11 football playing schools, and they're going to have a conference championship where basically just they take the top 2 teams. So, they have 11. They're minus those 3, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati. They're going to the Big 12. Then continuing on with that, they are like, we're at 8. Okay, well, we only need 2 more to get to 10. And if you have 10, you can have 2 divisions and have a conference championship. That was the idea. However, they're like, okay, well, we're going to add 6. And a lot of people are like, why the hell would you add 6? The reason why you're going to add 6, there is a rumor that, again, that rumor is that the Big 12 is going to Chapter 2 of conference expansion. So they're adding 6. The reason why I believe that Conference USA is adding 6 is so that if the Big 12, if the ACC, if somebody's like, we want to get involved in this, we want to get involved in that with some expansion, they're most likely to be a conference that people will pluck from. If they pluck from them, then they have a more fortified standing to stand together than if they were to be, go from 10 to, and then they take 4 another at 6, and now they have to scramble. So I think that's the big reason why. Again, insulation. The reason why Conference USA added 6 is because now they're at 14. If potentially Houston, USF, and Memphis all leave, now they're at 11. They're at 11 right now. Who cares? Okay, we've operated with 11 before. We can do it again. It's not that big of a deal. The second thing I wanted to bring up was the travel partners. And again, you can see this with the Conference USA adding in New Mexico State. The reason why they added New Mexico State, if you look at a map, New Mexico State and UTEP are right next to each other. New Mexico State doesn't really seem like it fits with Old Dominion. I mean, still, that's a really, really far trip. But if you see that there, that New Mexico State is going to be a travel partner with them. So I think what's going to happen is that the Big 12 is currently talking about that because, one, they want to insulate themselves. They want to insulate themselves to 16 to make sure, like, hey, dude, if Kansas State get plucked by the Big 10, we're still good. If Oklahoma State and Texas Tech get plucked by the SEC, we're still good. If Houston and TCU get plucked by the Pac-12, we're still good. And again, you're preparing for all of those sorts of things. The problem right here is the only thing consistent with conference expansion and conference realignment is the fact that it always happens. There is no conference. I mean, I would not be surprised in the future if the SEC goes away. It might take 30 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went away. I wouldn't be surprised if, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, if they all just say, we're out, we're leaving. Bye South Carolina, bye Kentucky, bye Vanderbilt. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that. But again, I think that the reason why we're seeing this right now and the fact that they're still talking about conference expansion is for insulation. I also think the travel partners is a smaller aspect of it. I also think the content is a big aspect of it too. You saw in that video that they're saying that they're talking about selling their tier 3 rights for a couple of more $1 million. That could double. So I think they get paid 4, they could double to 9. So a big aspect of that is right now with 12, if you let's just say you have a 12-team conference and you have a 9 conference games, that's 54 games. If you have a 16-team conference and that's 9 conference games, you have 72 games. It's 33.3% more content you have to sell. And again, I think I want to bring up this because you can see in how people act, because you can see where their mind is at and what restraints they have. So I want to show up an article really quickly that's actually pretty fascinating. This article is one of the best articles I've seen here. MercuryNews.com. It says right here, Pac-12 media strategy. Kliavkoff wants NFL broadcast model and flex schedule component, but changes are likely years away. If you read through this article, he talks about a couple different things. The Pac-12 right now is in an absolutely horrible situation up until they get this on DirecTV or get this expanded out there. I do not suspect the Pac-12 is going to have, unless USC turns it around, I don't see how USC can recruit on a national scale if they can't get on these big broadcasts. So I think that right now what's going on is you're seeing the fact that because Kliakov is looking into every single avenue he can other than expansion, you can definitely tell that somebody's telling him, we're not expanding. We're not expanding. Kliakov was probably thinking, hey, maybe let's add Houston. Maybe let's add TCU. Let's get somebody in that central time zone that we can start broadcasting games out here. And I think that what's happened was a lot of those, presidents of those universities said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to keep it at 12. We like our 12. We're going to keep it at 12. We don't want to move. I think that's what happened there. So he's looking at, hey, man, but what if we broaden our horizons here? What if we go over there? What if we do this? What if we do that? He's looking into every single other avenue, because you have to remember here that a lot of these, universities are really, they have a hard time scheduling things. And in fact, I actually want to bring up another article that has a tweet here that kind of brings this up. So it says right here, this college football stat expert proposes 4 mega conferences of 16 teams, expanded college football playoff. Again, this is last year, and it basically says, this is from Stuart Mandel. He says, if Alabama and LSU and BYU can agree on the details of a game within a couple of weeks, please, for the umpteenth time, why do you need to schedule these things 15 years in advance? So you come down here to this, and again, I know I see my Boise State Broncos over here. I know I'd love to see that, but I don't think they actually fit with the Pac-16 because of actually when you break down what these university presidents want. I think that Pac-12 and Boise State, they wouldn't see eye to eye in that instance. But you see down here that basically what they would do is this would simplify a lot of things. It would be 4 conferences, 16 teams. Everybody would have the same amount of conference games. It'd be a lot simpler in scheduling out these games. And for some reason, I don't know why we schedule games 10, 11, 12, 13 years in advance. But I think it's also because, one, they're just federal employees or they're government employees and they kind of operate at their own speed. But I think the big aspect of it is that there's so many different variables you have to factor in. Having 4 16 teams simplifies a lot of things. It creates almost 2 NFLs, and NFL has a much easier time with scheduling games, much easier time of flexing games. Everything's kind of pre-negotiated and done from there. You don't have to worry about, tier 1 rights, tier 2 rights. Everything's kind of handed out evenly across the board. That's a big aspect why, and I think that's the reason why the Big 12 is still talking about 16 teams. I think that most conferences want to get to 16 teams. We already see the SEC is there. It sounds like the Big 12 is talking about it. The Pac-12 isn't, but they're doing every single thing they can to try and bleed out a little bit more revenue from their 12 just because they don't want to split it up. But I think that, you see that kind of situation. I also think that the alliance also kind of leans that way too, where you don't even have a super conference, but you have almost like a, hey, we're going to just play with each other, okay? We don't really care what happens to the MAC. We don't really care what happens to the Mountain West. We don't care what happens to the Sun Belt. We're just going to kind of operate on our own thing and just try and streamline our communications across the board. So that's what I think what's going on right now. Again, those 3 things: insulation against people plucking your other teams, travel partners, that helps. And then also the content aspect of it. I think that's the reason why people want to get to 16 teams. Again, I think that insulation as you go down the wire, SEC doesn't need to insulate themselves, okay? They might. I mean, the SEC might insulate themselves in a positive way. They might be like, hey, we have 16. Let's invite Clemson, Florida State. Let's invite USC, and let's invite UCLA. And we're going to have 20 teams, and we don't care what happens outside of our conference. You could do something like that. But again, I think that's the reason why the Big 12 is talking about expanding to 16 teams. I think that's also the reason why Conference USA, if those 3 teams leave and they're down to 11, I would not be surprised if they sent out 5 more invites somewhere else. And then it's like, who cares? 5 more people, you're coming back up. Liberty, you're coming back up. ODU, you're coming back up. Things like that. I wouldn't be surprised about that at all. All right, guys, get in those comments. Let me know what you think. What's happening with that? Why do you think they want to expand to 16 teams so much? Do they not want to expand to 16 teams so much? Let me know what you guys think, but I'd appreciate it. Anyways, hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I'll see you guys on Monday for your regularly scheduled programming. I'm out.